Watch the ride.
Hey everybody, I'm at Haslemere Motorcycles again, and today I'm going to be taking out the Suzuki Katana. Of course, this is the 2019 Katana, or if you're in America, you'd know it as the 2020 Katana. I think we do our years differently. I will point out, though, that this has got the Samurai pack, which means it has a different seat. It has these little flashy bits. I think this screen as well. This has also been fitted with a Scorpion exhaust. It has every single thing you could possibly think in the world RNG on it, because RNG, I believe they use this bike to help develop parts. It's got the tail tidy, which is, I think, is probably the first one of these you'll see with a tail tidy, because this is a prototype made by RNG to work out the sizing to make one. But anyway, enough talking about it. You've seen pictures of it. I do think this is a bike which doesn't photograph well, I'll say that. It looks better in person than it does in photographs. It's just something about you can never quite get it at the right angle. I have reviewed the GSX S1000, and you might say, well, why is that relevant? This bike is basically a GSX 1000 with a different body kit on it. Yes, they've done some slight tweaks to the engine. I think they put lighter pistons in it, a few things like that. But on paper, it's pretty much the same bike with different fairings. Now, to address the looks of the Katana, people might be like, what the hell is that? Well, the thing is, back in '82, I believe, when I was just -3, there was a bike released by Suzuki called the Katana. It was an 1100, I believe it was even air-cooled, and it was designed by someone out of house, not in Suzuki. Well, what they did was they basically did the same thing. I believe the guy's also done designs for Motor Guzzi and a few other companies, but that doesn't really matter. The point is, the reason it looks the way it looks, and let's face it, it's mostly the front end that people have issues with, is because it's emulating the old bike in a more modern way. Now, I'm not saying that makes it good looking, I'm just saying that you can kind of understand why it looks this way. Now, speaking to different people about the old Katana, I get very mixed things. Like, some people say to me, oh, it was a legend, it was an iconic bike, it was brilliant, it was really good, blah, blah, blah. And then you speak to other people, particularly in America, and you mention the Katana, and they're like, oh yeah, that's that bike that everyone who starts riding and sees this bike and like thinks, oh yeah, I'll go and get one of those. And you realise, no, they got the worst bike they could have done. That's the sort of two sides of the story. So I don't know where it sits. I wasn't alive at the time. I've never ridden an original Katana, but I can ride this one. I'm having to do mirror repairs on the go here. You see, the mirrors have got nuts here and down here, and they don't appear to have a lot of easy movement at this end. So when I just tried to adjust this mirror, it undid itself and started flopping around in the wind. And I know there's probably a toolkit on board, but I don't really have time to be messing around with that, so that's going to have to do. Holy Okay, well, this information may not come as a surprise, but as a 1000cc bike with 6 gears, it can do 70 miles an hour pretty comfortably. And it'll also do an awful lot more than that. In fact, you can do, license endangering numbers in second. And this brings me on to one of the points about the Katana that I think is kind of... Now, this is a personal preference, and some people will and won't agree with me. Now, I have nothing against thousands in the sense of, like, I think they're wrong or anything like that. I get if people like them, it's the thing you like, you want it. But I don't. I would have much preferred this bike if they'd made it a 750. I've reviewed the GSX-S 750, and I absolutely adored that bike because it had usable power. It was still really, really quick, but it had usable power. The 1000 was just too quick, really. It was just too much grunt that made it very difficult to sort of enjoy for me. I mean, Christ, look here, I'm trying to do 30. It's tricky. Another reason I think the 750 might have been a smarter idea is the fact that they only put I believe it is a 12-litre tank on this bike, which is going to give you, well, this is the thing. The bike is claimed to have about 53, 54 mpg. Now, obviously, we all know that is riding very, very conservatively. You're probably going to, what's it saying at the moment? 52.3 mpg. That's an average. Okay, but then again, I'm riding it quite normally. The point is, if you're out for a weekend squirt with friends and you are squirting around, you're probably going to have to top up with fuel in the middle of the trip. And if you're going touring a long distance, you know, you're going to be a guy who's every 100 miles or so is like, yeah, I need to get fuel, I need to get fuel, I need to get fuel, where everyone else is going to be doing, you know, they'll probably refill on every second or third one that you do, depending on their bike, obviously. So that leads you to questioning, well, what's this bike actually for? And from what I can see, they're saying that they were looking to make a modern Katana that was comfortable as a sort of an everyday bike that you could ride around and do whatever you want on. It's not, I don't think it's being aimed to be some super fast bike or anything like that. It's made to just be a comfortable bike. But, you know, props to Suzuki for actually going out there and making something a bit different, because they have been a little bit, what would you call, scaredy cat in their looks department for a while. You know, they don't have much balls to go a bit unique, a bit wacky off. See, just trying to get through those corners, you touch the throttle and you're doubling your speed like that. I do understand the thrill of the thousands. I do understand why people love them. But I just think you could have more fun on the 750, personally. And as I say, I wish it was the 750 that they turned into the new Katana, not the 1000. You didn't make it at 1100, so don't try and say you're trying to keep to tradition. Make it the 750, give it the same size tank. You know, it's going to get more miles to the gallon out of it. It's lighter, well, no, lighter actually. It might end up being the same weight because blah, 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 blah. But, you know, I think that would have been the better way to go. And maybe that's something they'll do. So to me, the only real justifiable reason to have 1000, other than I just bloody well want one, shut up Spicy, which is fair enough. I mean, sort of logistically wise, is if you're doing touring, because then you can have the bike, plenty of power reserves, sat sick, very calm. I get why people would like 1000 to do that, but this hasn't got the tank capacity for that, so why bother going with 1000? However, when we forget all of that, and you just start riding it calmly through the corners and stuff, it is a very pleasant, nice handling bike. It doesn't remind me of the turn-in you get from the 750, and that was the thing that I liked the most about the 750 over the 1000, was the turn-in was just something I'd never really felt. Quite so telepathically or directly. It is very, very smooth. It's smoother in the car. Does it look better than the GSX-S 1000? It's less hunched overy looking. I probably would prefer, if someone said to me you have to have the GSX-S 1000 or the Katana, I'd pick the Katana. I prefer the looks to it over the other, but that's because I don't really mind slightly quirky looking bikes. It does feel very much like you're perched on the top of it. It's kind of got that well, it feels more like my Supermoto to ride than it does my XJ6. You know, I'm not down in the bike, I'm very much on top of it, everything's lower down. It's I do get it. That is fun, but it's too damn quick. Okay, well let's talk about some of the more basic stuff. Okay, so I'm 6'4", and it is actually quite comfortable. It's very comfortable, in fact. The seat's big enough and squidgy enough, feels comfy. The pegs aren't too high on and far back, so my knees aren't overly bent. There's plenty of room in front of my knees, so you could be even taller than me. Even with my arm length, I'm just very slightly forward of bolt upright, which is great because when you're going quick on a bike, you want to be more sort of in line so you can brace the acceleration, because it does pull. The overall feeling is not of a hefty bike or anything like that. It feels very direct, very responsive, but also not jittery. You know, there's no jitteriness. It's very just planted and solid in the sense that the straight ahead feel. The suspension in the sense of comfort, it's actually pretty good. I went over some quite gnarly roads back there, which I normally, if you know, it's a full-on sports bike or something like that, you get a proper feeling from the road, and this just smooths its way over it, so it's alright. Or should we just go, oh, there's a country road, just go up here. Let's try one of the slower roads, because you cannot go that quick round these, so you're going to stick to a gear and just enjoy it, I guess. Yeah, see, I can just sit in second and go from like 25 mile an hour to stupid. You might as well just give it one gear. Oh my god! Forgot about this road. Yeah, this road is pretty bad on any bike. This is no worse than anything else. In fact, this is probably slightly better than I've experienced with some bikes, because it's taken some of the extreme jarriness out. This is a bad road. Okay, bit of a time jump, because I've basically been riding around for about half an hour or so since I last said anything. And I've just been testing it out, finding its comfortable places, seeing where the gearbox is happy, you know, just riding it as a normal bike, trying to get around A to B. And it is actually a very comfortable bike to ride. It's very, very smooth. The gearbox is lovely. It's just like, it's such a direct clunk. Well, not clunk, it's just it's very hard to explain, but it's a very, very nice gearbox. It's a little bit twitchy, because in pretty much any gear, it's got so much torque that it just, you know, it wants to go. But that's part of the nature of it being 1,000. So yeah, the looks are a little bit Marmitey. I think that maybe not completely polarised. I think some people might be like, it's okay, or like, I kind of like it, but I don't like that bit. I think people are going to be very weird about the front end, but it's kind of that wedge shape section, which is very reminiscent of the original Katana, so that's kind of why they went with that. Tail. This is an interesting one. They've gone for the they've gone for the, you know, they normally these have one of those giant plastic things that attaches round here and comes around the back, like on let's try and think. Well, just look at pictures, you can see. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. So that makes it look a bit weird. Taking that off does improve the looks of that, in my opinion. And as I say, you'll be able to do that soon, because RHOK basically made this one as a prototype to get the sizing and stuff to make the ones for everyone else. If you didn't know, RHOK is quite local to here. But the back end, I don't know. You see, the first thing I noticed is that is very clearly Optimus Prime's head. I mean, well, not even, his face is under here. It's like, you lift it up and he's like, hello, where's the Decepticons? You know? And these sort of things look a bit interesting. I do feel like maybe they could have, I do feel like it might have looked better if they hadn't gone quite so extreme with that. Maybe simpler light. No. Just a personal note, and I know they've put it on here because they're testing out all the different products they're going to do. But these on road bikes, why? It's not going to stop you breaking your levers, to my knowledge, the existence of these is so that when you're in very, very close racing conditions and you're leant over, you don't just tap your brake on someone else's bike or someone's boot or foot or hand or something. Yeah, you know this has happened. Just grabs it. Oh. 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 Well, I need to take some pictures, so that's going to have to... Oh, you son of a... I don't have any tools on me. Well, if it was just touch it. Has this bike got a toolkit on it? Let's try and find the toolkit on a Katana. It bloody well should have one. Right, so what we've got down here. We've got a... Nope. 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 Keyhole. Oh, there we go. Battery. Fuses. Some strappy things. I'm noticing a distinct lack of tools. Okay, well I managed by using a piece of one of my business cards to wedge that in to take some B-roll shots. But for the rest of the video, that will not be on there, and you now know why. It's obviously just needed tweaking up a bit tighter, and I have no tools. And it's strange that I can't find the toolkit on this. Not that I think that it would include an Allen key of that size. So yes, looks is in the eye of the beholder, as it were. So it is up to you to decide if you like the look of it or not. It's not a bad looking bike, it's a different looking bike. There are a few little tweaks and things that I'd like to change myself. I do possibly see this as being a good chassis to sort of do things to, but then again, why wouldn't you just get the GSX-S 1000 for £1,000 less and just take the tank and everything off anyway? Controls are basically the same as well. Start, hazards, kill switch, horn, indicators, pass light. This is your menu button, and there's a mode button in here as well, because this has obviously got... Oh, have you seen the screen? Let's show you this will start up. So your revs whip around this thing. You got a gear position indicator, you got your traction control settings there. All the other information here, speed, fuel, etc, etc. Traction control, you just press the button and then you can go from off to 3. I've just had it in 1 this whole time. Okay, I've got no one behind me and a lot of traffic in front of me, and I want to make a gap, so let's have a quick test of these brakes. Gee! Well, I know I say geez every time I try out like a sports bike or newer bike's brakes. I'm just comparing it to my own brakes, and my brakes work on my bikes, but they're not that... Sorry, that... Like... It's good. Its brakes are good. They're the thing that keeps you the safest. Oh, squeezed a rabbit. No, it was a partridge. I think it was his mate got squished. Okay, I think I can now give my conclusions on the Katana. I'm going to break it into sort of a couple of different categories. I was just given a warning by a biker about something, so I'm going to heed that. So, looks. It's up to you, really. As they say, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. I can understand the looks of this bike, I don't mind it. I understand that because of what the old bike looked like, they have to use some styling influences from that, and that's kind of why it got the look that it did. Everyone is warning. This is really difficult doing 30 miles an hour. Okay, so the next thing's kind of like engine and stuff like that. Very nice engine, very smooth. Gearbox is lovely. That was a good example back there. It's below 30 mile an hour, it's a little bit difficult to actually like just keep it there smoothly. It doesn't like going that slowly. It can. Let me try 6th. Maybe that solves the problem. If the throttle is even on in 6th, you're doing 35. Okay, so let's try 1st. 4,000 RPM. Put it into 2nd. Over 30. It's quite difficult to actually get this to keep it under. There you go, 30 mile an hour. Don't have to go. We're going over 30 mile an hour. There we go. But this does have absolutely lovely handling. That's the thing, 70. I was saying, this handle's absolutely lovely. It's not quite got the same feel and turn in as I felt with the 750, but it is good, there's no question of that. Suzuki Katana 2019 looks, well, it's up to you. If you don't like it, don't buy it. And don't yuck someone else's yum. If someone's like, that, I dig that bike, don't tell them it sucks. It doesn't matter what it looks like. It's the performance and the feel and all that sort of stuff. And this is a very, very nice bike to ride. And as I say, there's no one thing about it I could complain about saying as that's not excellent. But for me, would I buy this bike? No. I'd want it to be based on the 750. It's just too quick. You can't use the engine. You can't really do anything with it, because as soon as you're like, yeah, oh, now I'm going stupid speeds. I mean, my XJ6 is a 600 with only like 78 brake horsepower, and you really have to work to get that thing up to 100, but you can really play in that 70 to 100 zone where, it's kind of like a lot of people kind of play if they're going to go a little bit faster. This just goes, oh, I'm at 100, and now what? Now we'll play. And it's like, no, I can't play up here. I need to be playing from the 70. I'm not saying you can't, I'm just saying that with a smaller engine you get more time to play more. But then if you're a rider who really likes thousands and likes the things that come with thousands, this is a very nice 1000. So what more can I say? Apart from thanks to my patrons and thanks to the supporters of this channel. I wish to continue bringing you videos like this for many years to come, and it would really help if you could support with your Patreon or something like that. Yeah. As I say, again, thanks to Haslemere Motorcycles, and I'll catch you all next time. That was an interesting one. Not quite as I thought, but yeah, interesting. If you enjoyed this video and the other content on the channel, please consider following the links in the description to show your support.